Hello. I know it's been a long time. I know the videos have been fewer and more far between as of late, and kind of wanted to speak to that. Um, been putting this off for a long time, sharing about some of this stuff, and there's just been a lot of stuff going on a personal level. This whole year has been difficult. And kind of increasingly so as the months have gone on, particularly in terms of a marriage, my marriage, that has been coming to a point of just breaking down more and more to a point of having to face a lot of very real and sobering life changes, possible life changes, and yeah, it's been painful and to say the least, and having some days where it's all I can do to just get up and get through the day, um, and just not completely lose control of myself or lose sense of what I'm doing on a most basic level. So yeah, trying to keep it together, kind of a thing. Yeah, that opening little clip, some footage I took recently from the upper level of a parking garage from a casino in the north end of Las Vegas Valley, because the view from up there is kind of good. But just some footage of that moment, or those moments in the pre-dawn hours, which I confess I've been awake for more and more of those kinds of moments and times of reflection and such lately. Erratic sleep patterns and all the rest, but I guess it's the kind of thing where, particularly that point of the morning, before the sun has breached the horizon, and all you have is that glow, that faint glow in the distance, and things start to get lighter, but the sun is still not visible. For whatever reason, seems to encapsulate a lot just of where I seem to spend a lot of my thought life. It just represents so much, and how much of that is valid, or like an accurate, profound description of how it feels so much of the time when we're just trying to live each day, knowing what we know, carrying what we carry, in terms of understanding various degrees of just the reality of the world that we live in, and the times that we live in, and the darkness and the oppressiveness of these days. The city, the creep of progress, and all the rest. The 24-hour glow of hedonistic pursuits, being surrounded by it, but then there's that you find the truth, and I don't know, it sounds corny, but feeling like you're still sitting in the night, you're still surrounded by the world and all the lies that the enemy has been telling and leading people astray, leading you astray in certain ways. And so it applies on that sort of macro level, but then personally, being in a place where things being what they are and being forced to reflect on so many things just from the past 2 decades or even longer, and recognizing how that's it's kind of an apt description of how my faith has felt so much of the time, where you come to a knowledge of the truth, but there's still this elusive quality. It's still not quite there in terms of living in the the noonday sun of God's love and God's grace, and you're still longing for some sort of for the day to come. So yeah, just trying to be honest, how much of a struggle it has been recently, not just with things that I feel like there's so many things where it's easy to focus on the things that you feel like you've been wronged by, the things that feel unfair, the pain that you feel like you don't deserve, but at the same time having to look at how much I've still I have my own things that I still need to lay down, and my own things that I've still just been running from for years. And one thing that has happened recently is I actually started talking to some of my extended family, some of them who I haven't spoken to in well over a decade, and it's been a very sobering process, and beautiful and difficult and all sorts of emotions at the same time, trying to kind of take those first steps and reconnecting and try to rebuild bridges. It brings up all sorts of baggage from the years gone by that you'd kind of pushed way, way back. And it's been good. It's been, I think, pretty healthy overall, or pretty, kind of helped me get a lot of perspective on things, on various sides and angles. But, yeah, just finding myself really in a huge kind of pivotal, life crossroads type of place. And that, of course, affects, everything I've been doing with the channel, and having to reevaluate, what I can do in the future or what I should do. And it's been hard to say, really, like what's going to happen with that, and I honestly don't know. There have been a lot of days where I just wanted to delete the whole thing and just walk away and forget about all these conspiratorial research type things. And other days where I go, well, maybe I should just make this my whole full-time lifelong thing, or start figure out a way to monetize and support myself through this. And that's always been something that I was so loath to do, for various reasons. But getting to a place of going where I got to do something. My whole life is really kind of being questioned from top to bottom. So I don't know. I don't have any conclusions on that front at all. I'm just kind of talking, just trying to talk as a vulnerable human being with frailty and weakness and brokenness as much as I can. There's not a lot of pride left to try and defend ideas about myself or whatever this thing I've created. So, yeah, I appreciate your prayers, and I appreciate, so many of the emails that a lot of you have sent, and just asking, if I'm doing okay, and offering your prayers and words of encouragement. And a lot of times, it's been those emails that kind of got me through the day, here and there. And I'm very thankful for a lot of the relationships I've been able to build with some of you. I wish I could do it with so many more. That's what's hard about the internet and social media, Anyways. Part of what has developed is just definitely a very deep, a deep impressing conviction to get out of this city. In some ways, it's been kind of ironically good being here for the past 5 years and being surrounded by just so much of the essence of what is Las Vegas. Because in some ways, it's just like an extreme, intensified version of what exists everywhere, right? So it's just kind of put in your face all the time. But that in itself has been quite an experience, and I don't regret it, but I do feel like it's time to kind of move on, and so that's been a part of what I've been busy with, is that whole process of getting ready to move and figure out where to go and where I want to spend the remaining part of my life, which part of the country, and how that's going to work under whatever develops in terms of facing life as a divorced person or whatever. There's still a lot of that I'm processing and absorbing and trying to just surrender daily, and yeah, I've kind of been a mess in a lot of ways, but at the same time, I've seen God pick me up so many times and encourage me in ways that I wasn't expecting, and help me find, sometimes the greatest comforts have just been when I finally got to a place where I was able to just stop and look at the things in my own life that I've not been giving to Him, or not been trusting Him with, or still been running from, and all those things, rather than focusing on the ways I feel unjustly wronged. That's a difficult lesson. I mean, you can understand that in your head, but I'll probably spend the rest of my life trying to really internalize that and live it out. And it's kind of what my last video was touching on, but I wasn't really ready to talk about, where it was coming from. So I've been trying to kind of process things, but also not just rely on making videos as some sort of outlet to just spout things, but to take a break from that and reflect and seek God. And I think I'm finally coming to a place where I'm getting through a lot of the emotional, sort of just just the paralysis or the devastation or and to be honest, the unhealthy ways that I've tried to deal with the pain or numb myself from the pain, and falling into old patterns and things like that, and knowing that that's not what God wants and that's not what's good for me, So having to face a lot of things, a lot of things on a lot of levels, and just the whole thing of to just keep walking, and not give up, and not give in to despair, and not give in to the voice of the enemy that tries to come in from every side, especially when you're going through parts of your life like this where you're just being tested so deeply. And I know most, if not, everybody out there, we're all, either you're going through something similarly difficult now, or you have, or you will, and you will be tested, and God will let you experience pain and loss, or, just relationships where it's not just some clear-cut thing of who wronged who, or, that's what's pretty weird about getting older, and you have histories with people, family or friends, and there's so many sides to it, and so many things that you can look back on and go, yeah, well, they did that and I did this, and to the point where you don't even know how to untangle it all or really make sense out of how it began, or how it escalated, or how it finally kind of broke apart. Yeah. But then to trust God, in those kinds of situations, in those levels of your life, that He is still working in all of us, that He's still pursuing all of us, that He's still going to use it all for our own good if we just continue to love Him. And that's been a verse I've been meditating on a lot recently. Was Romans 8:28. In some ways, I think it's probably one of the most challenging verses in the entire Bible. That even when you're going through crazy things that you don't think you should have ever gone through or never expected to go through, that God somehow is going to use that for the good of the good of His kingdom overall, but for the good in your own life. And a lot of times, that good might just mean the things that you're learning, and the refining process, and being drawn closer to Him in ways that involve pain, involve walking through things that you just absolutely do not want to walk through. And it feels like you're being forced, or it feels unfair. But to learn to trust that even all that is part of His divine, plan for your life, even though it involves your decisions and other people's decisions, and your will is not negated. It's not God playing puppets with us, but somehow, even through all of our free will actions and all of our slow to learn weakness, God's using it and orchestrating it, and He is in control. And so yeah, I didn't quite know what to say. I didn't really have it all figured out ahead of time. been thinking about making this video for weeks and weeks, and if nothing else, I just want to tell all of you how much I appreciate all the everything from you've watched any of my silly videos and commented and engaged and or emailed, or a lot of been able to build some really special friendships and experience some fellowship like I've never had in the past, and that's what's been pretty amazing. And I've been very blessed by so many of you, but that's what's been hard, to feel like I've just been increasingly not in a place to where I could even give much back in terms of encouragement or research or whatever. And so if nothing else, I guess this is where I'm at right now today, and probably for a while, dealing with some pretty heavy stuff and a lot of life changes that I know I need to make, and I'm trying to let God guide me in doing that, just with a lot of unhealthy things that have been a part of my life for a really long time, that I've known and I've suppressed or just run from, and so just trying to face them and trying to let Him work in me in ways that go beyond just figuring out how to expose deceptions in the world and look at all these things on a grand scale, but bringing it back home to my own life is so much harder. As weighty and difficult as it is to learn about all these dark agendas and deceptions and the implications of this world that we live in, controlled by the fallen one. It's really so much more heavy to really let God start digging into your heart and your life and peeling back the layers and the years. And so I have a lot of hope, maybe, and that's kind of the whole theme of that pre-dawn hour. It's that theme of hope. Even when it feels like it's just dark and cold, and you're surrounded by the city and the lights and the worldliness of every kind, and you know that the day is coming. You know that the light, it's already here in a sense, and that's what's confusing, right? Because maybe, I've wondered how much of my life have I spent just feeling like, oh, it's coming, but it's not here, and then it's you're always looking ahead, but then having a hard time feeling like you know how to live in the joy of the Lord right now, today, to live in the light of the day, even while it's still night around you. That's a difficult thing. And if nothing else, maybe that's what I feel like, I don't know what else to talk about if I'm going to keep making videos or doing whatever. It's like, how do you live? How do you live with this knowledge? How do you live with this perspective and not let it alter you and weigh you down or become some kind of obsession or distraction, because it sure has for me. And how do you know where all those lines are? It's really hard to say. But that there is hope, And that picture of the sun coming up over the mountains, over the horizon, just speaks to me a lot. And but I want to encourage all of you, you know, whatever's going on in your life right now, and relationships and family, and or pain that you've been carrying for years, or pain that you're going through right now, and difficult decisions, and if nothing else, I'm just trying to kind of bring mine to the forefront, and help us all realize that, yeah, these are the hardest things, and we have to keep walking, even when you feel like the people around you that you relied on, might not be there, and the irony is that because I felt let down by a lot of relationships in the past with my family, I eventually just walked away and didn't speak to many of them for a long, long time, and wasted a lot of years that I could have spent trying to have something, but it just became too much and too painful, and I closed off, and so I'm trying to let God, rekindle or reconnect whatever I can with some of those people, and just let them know that I love them, and that I don't, judge them or whatever. I don't want anything from them, but it's super hard to do that, after so much time, and there's so many little footholds of bitterness that are been rooted in me and rooted in them, and there's no quick easy way to work your way back through that stuff, and reach out and rebuild. And so, but I'm trying to do those things, and ask God for help at every step, but walking the narrow path. That whole picture, the narrow gate and the narrow path, it's a reason Jesus described it that way, right? Because it's easy to just go along the big broad way, and kind of go with the flow along the way that leads to destruction, because that way does not involve allowing God to really dig up the stuff in you, the stuff in your life that you don't want to look at, and there's a reason a lot of people hear about Jesus and decide that it's not for them, and I really think it's this kind of stuff, having to look at the pain that you've caused, or the patterns that you've become accustomed to, and it's painful to let God flush all that stuff out. But it's also beautiful, it's also freeing. It's also, in some ways, I've felt freer in the past few months than I have in a long time. Just having this conversation and talking this way, it's definitely not something I would have done a year ago or several years ago. And just being humbled, being broken, and being able to empathize with other people's difficulties or weaknesses, or shame, or whatever that we all carry. Now that's pretty priceless. And I know God does really use all things for the good, and I've seen it, but you know, it's not some walk in the park, guys. I think a lot of you know that. A lot of you have been through, worse things that I'm going through now, and have seen God take you through it. And maybe some of you are going through things that you just don't feel like there's hope. And I just pray that all of us can come to a place where Jesus just carries us through, and He's enough, and He's what we keep our eyes on, and He's what we want more of, and He's what we invite in, what we worship with our lives and our relationships, not just with words or songs, but with the way we live and love people and lay things down and to keep walking. To keep walking.